For this exercise, we're going to use functions, which are prepackaged sort of formulas, I guess, that Excel supplies and that you can also download extra ones. And we're going to use them to calculate which university is our best choice given our marks that we have in certain courses, say where we've done some pre-university studies. This is all completely artificial. None of these numbers are real. I have no idea what the actual entrance marks, program years, tuition, scholarships are for any of these universities. This is all made up. Alright, so it asks us to download this file, our starting point, which gives us at the top a sort of a series of our current marks. Notice nothing's formatted yet. We'll wait until later. It's always best to format last, I find. And the first thing it asks us to do is our courses are weighted differently. For instance, this course, Math 234, has a weight of 3, but this one, FRGR, combination French-German course, has a weight of only 1. So this one's worth a lot more. We want to do better in that course, and that's not uncommon at certain institutions. So our weighted mark, it tells us, is going to be the product of the course weight and the final mark. So the product means multiply, so I'm going to use a formula. We don't need a function here. Equals the course weight times the final mark. There's nothing particular magical about this, so I'll just use autofill to bring it down to my bottom course. Notice that some of these numbers are higher than 1. That's to be expected. These are percentages, sort of, but not really. They're just numbers we use to arrive at the final average, weighted average. Now the next one, it asks us to find the total weight of all the courses. So we want to find the sum of all of these. So that's exactly where we would use a function. So I'll say equals sum, open parentheses, don't ever forget the parentheses, and then I'll just use the mouse to select my range. But I could type it in, B4 colon B11, close my parentheses to finish, and there we have it, the sum. And that would be the total weight. We'll need that in a second. And the next is to find just the unweighted average of these. These are all percentages. We haven't formatted them like that yet, but we will. And I want to find just the average, the mean. And I'll use the average function. So equals average, you can type in lowercase, and again, I'll use the mouse just to select them. The range that I want to take the average of, it'll count them, it'll add them all up and divide by however many it added. C4 colon C11 is the range, and looks like 84% is what the unweighted average is. But let's find out what the weighted average is. And the weighted average is the sum of the weighted marks divided by the total weight. So we just need to add up all these and divide by the calculation we've already performed, the total weight. So to add up all those, I'll use the sum function again, sum. And I'll take the sum of this range, D4 through D11, and I'm not finished yet. I want to divide by that number there. That's already calculated. B12 has already calculated the sum of the weights. So this will give me, when I hit enter, my weighted average. And look, it's actually higher than the unweighted average. It's 88% versus 84%. So the weighted average was to my benefit. All right. So we'll come back to that a little later, but the next point is we're going to add formulas down here for total tuition, starting with University of Victoria. Now the rule is, if my weighted average is greater than the entrance mark, which it is for University of Victoria, if that's true, then I will pay in total tuition the program years times the yearly tuition. Some programs are longer than others. They charge different tuition per year, but in total I will pay this amount times that amount if this mark is greater than that mark. If that's not the case, if I did not get in, for instance, 88 is not greater than 91, so I'm not going to get into UBC. So in that case, I want to show just 0. There's nothing, I can't pay them any money, they're not going to let me in. So might as well just come up with a number, we'll choose 0. So we're going to make a decision here. If our mark is greater than the entrance mark, so I need the if function. The wonderful if function. So equals if, open parentheses. It will give me here a hint as to what I need to do. Logical test will be something that is either true or false. It's going to be a comparison always. It's going to use greater than, less than, equals, greater than or equal to, less than or equal to, or not equals. In this case, I want to check that my final weighted average is greater than or equal. I'll use equal just in case I should come out to be exactly the same mark. Then University of Victoria's entrance mark. There's my test. That can either be true or false. It's either greater than or equal to, or it's not. Comma. Now if it's true, and it's telling me, suggesting me here, if the value is true, so if this turns out to be true, what do I want to display in this cell here, in cell B23? I want to display the program years times the yearly tuition for University of Victoria. Comma. If it's false, that's the case, I did not get into University of Victoria, I just want to display a 0. So there's my entire function. If D12 is greater than or equal to B15, if that's true, calculate program years times yearly tuition, otherwise just put a 0. I did get in to University of Victoria. It's so it's showing me 2 times 35.27, which happens to be $7,054, and we'll format it as currency later. Now, I've done that first one. Ideally, I should just be able to autofill down and calculate all the way through McGill and see what happens. Now, let's just do a little sanity check. I know, using with this mark, it did not get into University of BC. I did not get into McGill, so I should see 0 for those values. Let's see what happens. Drag it down. University of Victoria, University of BC, I should say, it calculated something. McGill calculated something. Mount Allison, I got a 0. I should have gotten a Mount Allison. According to this, I've got 10% better than their entrance mark. So what happened? Let's take a look at Mount Allison. I'll click on the formula, or double-click on it, whichever you prefer, and that will highlight the cells. And notice what it's doing. It's saying, it's comparing D13, is that greater than or equal to B16? Well, D13 is this blank cell underneath my weighted average. When I did the autofill, it adjusted all of the rows down by 1 for Mount Allison, down by 2 for University of Calgary. We can check by that. It's comparing this label here now against the University of Calgary's entrance mark. And apparently scholarship yearly amount is greater than 0.8 because I got in. It calculated an average. I'm not sure why. But notice how it moves all of the cells relative to where my autofill went. My autofill goes down 2 rows in this case, then all the cells go down. But I do not want this cell to move. That's a special one. And the easiest way to make a cell fix in a formula and not move around when you use autofill or the clipboard is to name it. There is an old way of doing this using $signs. We won't use that because I think the naming is much more convenient, much more easier to read. But we will see occasionally $signs will fix rows and columns, but we'll wait. We won't bother with that. All right, so I want to take that cell and I want to name it. And I'm going to name it grade. So I type into the name box up there and make sure I hit enter. Remember, your name can't contain hyphens or spaces. Grade. Now that doesn't fix anything automatically. I have to actually readjust my formula because it's still using D12. I need to erase D12 and I'll just click on the cell and it will fill in grade. If I had done that in the first place, it would have filled in grade on my behalf. I'll hit enter. I get the same mark there, but now if I autofill, lo and behold, it's doing the right thing. 0 for British Columbia, 0 for McGill. The if function is working. Now the scholarship reimbursement does the exact same calculation except for it compares my weighted average with the scholarship mark. And if that's true, if that is great, if my weighted mark is greater than the scholarship mark, and it's not for University of Victoria, my scholarship reimbursement will be the scholarship yearly amount times the scholarship years. Otherwise, if I didn't get a scholarship, 0 again. So it's pretty much the same formula, just using some different cells. So if my grade is greater than or equal to the scholarship mark, if that's true, I want to calculate the scholarship yearly amount times the scholarship years. Otherwise, just a plain old 0. So there's my formula. 0, sure enough. Let's check. I should get a scholarship for University of Calgary, and I should get one for Simon Fraser. Those are the only ones less than 88. And there we go. University of Calgary and Simon Fraser. Is that what I said before? But that's the ones that I get. My total cost will be my total tuition minus my scholarship reimbursement. So I'll say this doesn't require any fancy functions at all. Minus the scholarship reimbursement, B23 minus C23. Nothing that no special cells involved, so I can fill down, use the autofill down. And then it asks us just to do a little tricky if function. And it says we should show a yes here if we were admitted, and if we were admitted, this number will be greater than 0. And if we weren't admitted, for example, UBC or or McGill, I should say, we should show no here because we have a 0. So really, all we have to do is check if this number is greater than 0. If it is, we got in. If it's not, we didn't. So again, when we make a decision like that, it's the if function. And if that value is greater than 0, if that's true, then I want to put in a label. We put in labels by putting double quotes around them. If it's false, I want to put a no. Close my parentheses. And so that's a way of displaying text based on a rule. Very simply, but it works. So no, I did not get into UBC. No, I did not get into McGill. I'll just format the spreadsheet so we can look at it a little better. These are all percentages. I'm going to hit the control key and choose that. That's also a percentage, as are these. And these are all percentages. And so I could format them all at once. Right click, format cells. Move that up so we can see it. And I'll use percentage, and maybe 1 decimal place is sufficient. And these aren't really percentages, so I'll just leave them like that. I could maybe set them to 2 decimal places or something, doesn't matter. And we have a few dollar values. That's a dollar value. I'm going to hold down the control key and continue my selection. And these are all dollar values. So I'm going to format them as currency. Number, currency, and $, 2 decimal places. Actually, I'm going to put it to 0 decimal places. I don't care about pennies. And I'll say OK, but it'll put in the thousands, comma. And we've got a good looking worksheet. And right now, what's our cheapest option? By far, University of Calgary is much cheaper than the others. But let's play with some of the numbers of our final marks and see what happens. I've already got fairly high marks, but let's see if I can adjust them. Right now my average is 88.3. What if this mark wasn't a 62 but was a 0.99? So I really did well in English 137, let's say. My average goes from an 83 to a 90. 88, I should say, to a 90. All of a sudden now, notice I got into McGill. It's not the cheapest option. The cheapest option is still University. Oh no, it's become University of Victoria because the scholarship has suddenly kicked in. I got high enough to get the UVic scholarship, so it's kicked in, and all of a sudden University of Victoria has become cheaper. This would be quite difficult to calculate on paper. You'd have to do each combination, each permutation all on your own. Well, combination technically, and to see what effect the scholarships and the tuitions would change. Let's try raising another mark, 72. Let's raise that to a 99. Our average goes from 90.5 to a 92. I'm now into every university, but UBC is kind of still expensive. But University of Victoria is still the cheapest option, looks like. So I'm still doing better there. Let's continue raising our marks. Just what if I did perfect in all these courses? Kind of an unrealistic expectation, but now it's up to 94.6. That's terribly high. And oh, look what happens. McGill is suddenly the cheapest option, 3,799, because not only did I get in, but the scholarship kicked in and it becomes the cheapest. And if you happen to live in Quebec, McGill probably would be the cheapest if you're a Quebec resident, because they do have highly subsidized university, or they did. But again, these numbers are all fictitious, but it gives an example of what if. What if I play with some of these numbers, this value will change, the total cost that I need to spend, and it changes in kind of unpredictable ways because it depends on total tuition and scholarship reimbursement. The if function handled all of it, and I just can play with the numbers and see what happens, and I'll be guaranteed that I'll get the right result. And that's the end of the exercise.